He stands at the back of the room, a ghost in grease-stained coveralls, and with a single quiet sentence, he dismantles an empire of lies. The air in Elias's workshop smells of cedar shavings, diesel, and the faint, briny tang of the salt marsh that presses against his back door. It is a scent he knows better than his own. He runs a calloused thumb over the head of a brass screw, feeling for the slightest burr. There is none. The screw is perfect. He sets it into the pre-drilled hole in the mahogany plank. The plank will become part of a restored helm station for a vessel built before he was born. He gives the screwdriver a precise quarter-turn twist. The brass sits flush, a small gold sun in a sea of dark wood. This is his world. It is a world of quiet precision, a world of things that fit. Outside, the gravel crunches under the tires of a car that does not belong here. The sound is expensive. It is the sound of German engineering and impatience. His daughter Lily looks up from her drawing. She sits at a small, sturdy table he built for her in the corner of the shop. Her crayons are arranged in a perfect rainbow. "Someone's here," she says. Her voice is a small, clear bell in the cavernous space. Elias does not look up. He selects another screw. "They'll wait," he answers. He does not rush his work. Not for anyone. The door to the workshop slides open with a heavy rumble. It lets in a rectangle of pale, unforgiving light and three figures. Two men in dark suits, and a woman. The woman stands in the center. She wears a grey coat cut, with the same sharp precision as the screws he uses. Her hair is pulled back so tightly, it seems to pull at the corners of her eyes. She is all angles and stillness. This is Clara Vance. He knows who she is. Everyone on this coast knows who she is now. The daughter. The inheritor of Vance Maritime. He finishes seating the second screw before he straightens. He wipes his hands on a clean rag, a slow, deliberate motion. He does not offer a hand to shake. His are covered in linseed oil. Clara Vance's eyes scan the workshop. They do not linger on the graceful, half-finished hull of the sailboat suspended in its cradle. They do not notice the wall of antique, hand-sharpened tools. Her gaze is an audit. It assesses the value of things, not their worth. "Elias Thorne?" she asks. Her voice is cool, impersonal. He gives a single nod. The man to her right steps forward. He is softer than her, all polished shoes and a smile that does not reach his eyes. Marcus Cole, the company's chief operating officer. Elias knows him too. He has known him for a very long time. "Clara, this is him," Marcus says, his tone a careful blend of deference and ownership. Elias has been a contract partner with Vance for a long time. Clara's gaze finally settles on Elias. It is like being measured for a coffin. "Our contract," she says, "is under review." Elias waits. Silence is a tool, same as any other. He knows how to use it. "It's more than a review, Clara," Marcus interjects smoothly. "With the new engine series, the board feels we need to consolidate, bring all our primary testing and retrofitting in-house. For quality control, the lies so clean, so polished, it almost shines." Quality control. Elias looks past them, to the gleaming water of the inlet, visible through the open bay door. He thinks of Clara's father, Robert Vance, a man who would come to this very workshop, hands in his pockets, and talk for hours about the precise tolerance of a piston ring, or the perfect pitch of a propeller. A man who understood quality. "The contract is terminated," Clara says. The words are flat. Final. Effective immediately. There is a small clatter. Lily has dropped a blue crayon. It rolls under her chair. Elias's focus does not shift from Clara's face. He does not react. He does not argue. He does not list the 2 decades of loyal service, the countless nights spent solving problems their own engineers could not. The handshake agreement he had with her father that was worth more than any piece of paper. He does not say that Marcus Cole knows nothing of quality. He does not say that the new engine series is flawed. He simply holds her gaze for a count of 3. Then he nods again. Once, the silence that follows stretches thin. Clara seems to be waiting for something. An outburst. A plea. An explanation. He gives her nothing. He turns his back on them. He picks up his screwdriver. He selects another brass screw from the small wooden box. He can feel their surprise. He can feel Marcus's smug victory and Clara's flicker of something. Confusion, annoyance. They are dismissed. After a moment, he hears the crunch of gravel again as the expensive car reverses. The heavy door rumbles shut, plunging the workshop back into its familiar, warm dimness. Lily gets up from her chair and comes to his side. She wraps her small arms around his leg. "Are those people coming back?" she asks. "No," Elias says, his voice quiet. He places a hand on her head, his fingers tracing the part in her hair. "They're not." He goes back to his work. The screw turns perfectly. The wood is warm beneath his hands. His world is still his own. For now. Clara Vance sits in the back of the sedan. The leather is cold against her skin. The car smells of nothing, a sterile, manufactured emptiness. She watches the boatyard recede in the side mirror until it is just a speck against the grey water. She does not understand the man. Elias Thorne. Marcus had painted a picture of him, a relic. A stubborn artisan clinging to outdated methods, resisting the company's new direction. A potential liability. "You see?" Marcus says from the passenger seat, his voice smooth as polished granite. He didn't even argue. He knows he can't keep up. "It's for the best, Clara. Your father was sentimental about him. It was holding us back." Clara does not respond. She replays the scene in her mind. The way he stood, the quiet dignity, the utter lack of protest. It was not the reaction of a man who knew he was beaten. It was the reaction of a man who was waiting. His eyes, they were not angry. They were not defeated. They were clear and steady, like deep water. And the child. The small girl in the corner, watching them with an unnerving stillness that mirrored her father's. "The board will be pleased," Marcus continues, filling the silence she leaves. This shows decisive leadership. Cutting old ties. Modernizing, she looks out the window. The world rushes by in a blur of green and grey. Her father's words echo in her memory, from a conversation weeks before he died. They had been arguing about the company's future. "It's not about being modern, Clara," he had said, his voice weary. "It's about being true. Some things, some people, are anchors. You don't cut the line to your anchor just to go faster." She had dismissed it as sentimentality then. Now, she is not so sure. The man's silence unnerves her more than any argument could have. It felt less like an admission of guilt and more like a judgment on her. 3 days later, the rain comes. It falls in a solid slate-grey sheet, turning the world outside her corner office into a watercolor painting left out in a storm. The phone on her desk buzzes. It is a sound she has come to hate. It is Marcus. His voice is tight, a new and unwelcome sound. "We have a problem." She listens, her knuckles turning white as she grips a silver pen. The Sea Serpent, their flagship demonstration yacht, is dead in the water, 10 nautical miles offshore, with 2 of their most important potential investors on board. "What kind of problem?" she asks, her voice dangerously calm. "Engine failure. The V12. Both of them. The new engine series. The one Marcus championed. The one that made Elias Thorne's contract obsolete. The Coast Guard is on its way, Marcus says quickly, but the sea is picking up. They can't get a commercial tow out there for hours. The investors are unhappy. Unhappy is not the word she would use. Panicked, more likely. And litigious. She closes her eyes. She sees a workshop filled with warm light. She sees a man who builds things that last. Where are they? She asks. Marcus gives her the coordinates. She types them into the navigation software on her screen. A small red dot blinks forlornly in a churning grey sea. She zooms in on the coastline. The closest harbour, the only point of refuge for miles, is a small, protected inlet, right behind Elias Thorne's workshop. "Get me a chopper," she says, standing up, "and get me Thorne's number." There is a pause. "Clara, I don't think." "Now, Marcus," she says, and hangs up the phone. The pen in her hand has snapped in two. Black ink stains her fingers. The wind howls. It rattles the windows of the workshop. Elias is teaching Lily how to splice a rope. Her small fingers fumble with the thick, coarse fibers. Like braiding hair, he tells her, guiding her hands with his own, just stronger. His phone rings. It is a satellite phone, old and heavy. He only uses it for emergencies. The number is blocked. He answers. He listens to Clara Vance's voice, stripped of its boardroom chill, now thin and strained against the shriek of a helicopter's rotors. He listens to the coordinates. He listens to the problem. He does not say, "I told you so." He does not say, "You fired me." He does not remind her of her own words. He looks at the raging sea beyond the harbour's breakwater. He looks at his own boat, the Resilience, a sturdy work vessel he built with his own hands. It is not fast, but it is true. An anchor. "I'm on my way," he says, and ends the call. He looks at Lily. Her eyes are wide. "Someone's broken again?" she asks. "Yes," he says, pulling on his heavy-duty oilskins. "Something's broken." He kisses the top of her head. The old man Arthur, who helps him in the shop and watches Lily when he can't, comes out from the small office, a steaming mug of tea in his hand. He sees Elias's gear and just nods. He understands. "Be safe," Arthur says. It is all that needs to be said. Elias steps out into the storm. The rain is cold and hard, like liquid nails. The sea journey is a fight. The Resilience rises and falls on the massive swells, the hull groaning, the engine a steady, reliable heartbeat. Elias stands at the helm, his body moving with the rhythm of the boat, his eyes fixed on the grey horizon. This is his world too, a world of chaos, of forces that cannot be controlled, only navigated. He finds the sea serpent listing badly, a sleek, white ghost adrift in a world of fury. The helicopter hovers above, a noisy, useless insect. He sees Clara on the deck, her expensive coat soaked through, her hair plastered to her face. She looks small and fragile against the rage of the storm. The two investors are huddled in the cabin, their faces pale green. Getting aboard is dangerous. He times the swell, brings his boat alongside with breathtaking skill, and leaps across the churning gap between the two vessels. He lands silently on the slick deck. He does not look at Clara. He does not acknowledge the investors. He goes straight to the engine room. The air is hot and stinks of burnt oil and ozone. The two V12 engines are massive, gleaming monuments to modern engineering. And they are silent. He runs a hand over a cooling manifold. He does not need diagnostic tools. His hands are his tools. His eyes, his ears. He finds it in less than 5 minutes. A hairline fracture in a fuel injector casing. On both engines. Identical failures, not a flaw in manufacturing, a flaw in design, in the choice of materials, a weakness born of cutting corners. a failure of integrity. He looks up, and Clara is standing in the doorway, water dripping from her hair onto the polished deck plates. She has followed him. "Can you fix it?" she asks. Her voice is almost a whisper. He looks at the fractured casing. He looks at her. "Fix it?" he says, his voice low and rough. "No, this can't be fixed." He opens his toolbox. He pulls out a roll of high-tensile sealant tape, a wrench, and a small metal file. "But I can get you home." He works in a focused silence. His movements are efficient, economical. There is no wasted energy. Clara watches him, mesmerized. She has seen 100 engineers work. They are all noise and frantic motion. He is silence and purpose. He is not fixing the engine. He is creating a bypass, a temporary, ugly, brilliant solution. He is forcing the machine to work against its own flawed design. It takes him 20 minutes. When he is done, he straightens up. "Try it now," he says. She goes to the helm. She turns the key. An engine sputters. Then another. They catch. They roar to life, an uneven, guttural sound. But they are alive. The yacht stills its violent rocking. It has a heartbeat again. Clara looks back at him. Her face is a mixture of awe and something else, something she cannot name. Elias is already coiling his ropes, preparing to disembark. His job is done. "Wait," she says, coming back to the engine room. What do I owe you?" Elias stops. He turns to face her fully. Rain and sweat trickle down his temples. "Nothing," he says. He leaves her standing there, in the heart of her broken machine. He leaps back onto his own steady boat and turns for home, disappearing into the grey curtain of the storm without a backward glance. Clara does not move for a long time. The roar of the flawed engines is the only sound. The next morning, the sun is out. The sky is a pale, washed-out blue. Clara sits in her office. In front of her is a preliminary report on the engine failure. It is filled with technical jargon and corporate deflection. It blames a faulty parts supplier. It recommends further study. It is a lie. She knows it is a lie. She remembers the look on Elias Thorne's face, the quiet certainty. This can't be fixed. She closes the report. She pulls up a file on her computer, a list of all active and past contract partners. She finds Thorne, Elias. The file is thin. It details payments and projects. At the bottom is a note, entered by Marcus a week ago. Contract terminated. Redundant skill set. Redundant, she opens another file. The original design specifications for the V12 engine series. Her father's last major project. She scrolls through pages of complex schematics. It is her father's signature on the bottom of each page. And Marcus Cole's. Something is wrong. Something is missing. She cannot shake the image of the man and his daughter. The small, safe world of their workshop. The way he moved, as if he were a part of the things he was building. She makes a decision. She does not call Marcus. She does not call her board. She gets in her car and drives. She drives back to the coast. She does not go to the workshop. She goes to a small, dusty diner a few miles down the road, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and a waitress who calls everyone Hon. She is looking for Arthur, Elias's old friend. His name was listed in the file as a former Vance Maritime chief engineer. Retired, she finds him in a booth by the window, nursing a cup of coffee. He is a man who looks like he has been carved from driftwood, weathered, sturdy, and kind. He does not seem surprised to see her. "Miss Vance," he says, his voice a low rumble. He gestures to the seat opposite him. She sits. She does not know where to begin. "I want to talk about my father," she says. And Elias Thorne. Arthur takes a slow sip of his coffee. He looks out the window at the gulls circling over the water. Robert was a good man, he says, the best boatman I ever knew. Except for one. He looks at her. Elias, he tells her a story. A story of two men, her father and Elias, who were more than colleagues. They were partners. They shared a language of design, of engineering, of the sea. He tells her how they designed the V12 engine together, in that workshop, sketching on scraps of wood and napkins. It was their masterpiece, Arthur says, his eyes distant. Perfectly balanced. Powerful, but reliable. Simple where it needed to be simple. Strong where it needed to be strong. But the designs, Clara says, leaning forward. The ones in the system. They're signed by my father. And Marcus. Arthur gives a short, bitter laugh. Marcus was always there, taking notes, making suggestions. Your father trusted him. After Robert got sick, Marcus started changing things. Small things at first, a cheaper alloy here, a different supplier there. He said it was to streamline production, to save money. He leans forward, his voice dropping. Elias fought him on every change. He told your father it was compromising the integrity of the design. But Robert was tired. He was sick. He let Marcus handle it. He trusted him to do the right thing. He pauses, letting the words sink in. After your father died, Marcus pushed Elias out completely. He took Elias's name off the patents. He buried the original designs. He told everyone the project was his and your father's alone. Clara feels a cold dread creeping up her spine. Why didn't Elias say anything? She asks, her voice barely a whisper. Why didn't he fight? Arthur looks at her, his gaze steady and deeply sad. Because your father made him promise, he says. On his deathbed. He made Elias promise to protect the company, to not let it get torn apart by scandal. Robert knew something was wrong with Marcus, but he didn't know how deep it went. He thought he was protecting his legacy, protecting you. He promised to protect the company. By staying silent, by letting himself be erased. And Lily's mother, Arthur adds, his voice softer now. She died a year before your father. It broke something in Elias. All he has left in this world is that little girl and his work. He doesn't have any fight left for men like Marcus Cole. He just wants to be left in peace. Clara sits back. The coffee in front of her is cold. The entire foundation of her leadership, her decisions, her trust in Marcus, it all crumbles to dust. She has not been honoring her father's legacy. She has been desecrating it. The original designs, she says, her voice regaining a sliver of its steel. Where are they? Arthur shakes his head. I don't know. Elias might. But he won't tell you. A promise is a promise. She thanks him. She leaves the diner and walks out into the bright, cold air. She knows what she has to do. She goes back to the city. Back to the towering glass and steel building of Vance Maritime. She goes to her father's office. She has kept it exactly as he left it. It is a museum to a man she is realizing she never truly knew. She looks for something out of place, something personal, something that a man like her father would hide. Her eyes land on a framed photograph on his desk. It is a picture of a newly launched boat, her father and a younger Elias Thorne, standing on the deck, grinning, their arms slung over each other's shoulders. They look like brothers. Behind the photograph, taped to the back of the frame, is a small, intricately carved wooden key. It is shaped like a marlin. A key. She searches the office. Not a desk drawer, not a filing cabinet. Something older, something more permanent. In the corner, behind a tall Schefflera plant, is an old ship's safe, black iron, with a brass handle and a small, unassuming keyhole. She has never seen it open. The wooden key fits. With a heavy click, the lock disengages. The door swings open with a low groan. Inside is not money, not bonds. It is a single sealed architect's tube. Her hands are trembling as she opens it. She unrolls the contents on her father's vast mahogany desk. It is the original V12 schematics, dozens of them, each one drawn by hand with an artist's care, and in the bottom right corner of every page are 2 signatures. Robert Vance and Elias Thorne. Tucked inside the roll is a letter. It is in her father's familiar, spidery handwriting. Clara, it begins. If you are reading this, it means you have found your way past the noise. I hope you have. This company is a complicated machine, and sometimes the loudest parts are the most broken. Marcus is ambitious. That is his strength, and his great weakness. He sees shortcuts where there should only be the long way around. I have grown too tired to fight him. But Elias is the anchor. He is the truest man I have ever known. His hands know things that computers will never learn. This engine, our engine, is as much his as it is mine. He gave it its heart. Trust him. Trust his work. Do not trust the noise. He will not fail you. He has never failed me. Love, Dad. A single tear falls onto the page, smudging the ink. The truth, the full, devastating weight of it settles upon her. The subordinate's treachery, the father's respect, the protagonist's noble, silent sacrifice. She rolls the schematics back up with reverent care. She puts the letter in her pocket. She knows what she has to do next. It is late when she arrives at the workshop. The lights are on, casting a warm golden glow out into the darkness. She finds Elias at his workbench, planing a piece of wood. The shavings curl up at his feet like fallen leaves. He does not seem surprised to see her. He finishes his pass with the plane before he looks up. She walks toward him. She does not speak. She lays the architect's tube on the workbench between them. His eyes flicker to it. A muscle in his jaw tightens. That is his only reaction. I know, she says. Her voice is thick with unshed tears. I'm sorry. The words are inadequate. They are pebbles thrown into a canyon. He looks at her, his gaze searching her face. He is not looking for pity. He is looking for understanding. Why didn't you tell me? She asks. When I was here. When I fired you. Why did you let me do it? He sets the plane down carefully on its side. He picks up a clean rag and wipes his hands, the same slow, deliberate motion as before. Because your father asked me not to, he says, his voice a low, gravelly murmur. He asked me to protect his company. And to protect you. He pauses, his gaze unwavering. And because you didn't know who I was, he adds. You looked at me and you saw a problem to be solved, a loose end to be tied. You didn't see me. You saw the man Marcus told you I was. The simple, unadorned truth of it cuts her to the core. A small sound comes from the corner. Lily is there, in her pajamas, a book in her lap. She has been watching them. She gets up and comes over. She looks at Clara's face, at the tracks of her tears. She tugs on her father's sleeve. Daddy, she's sad, she whispers. Then she turns to Clara. She holds out her small hand. Do you want some cocoa? She asks. It makes things better. Clara looks from the child's earnest face to the father's quiet one. In this small, warm space, surrounded by the smell of wood and the promise of honest work, she feels the first flicker of something she thought she had lost forever. Hope, yes, she says, her voice breaking. I would love some. They work for the next 2 days. Side by side, the boardroom is Clara's world, but the evidence is Elias's. She spreads the original schematics across the massive conference table in his workshop. He stands beside her, his finger tracing the lines, explaining the intricate dance of physics and mechanics. He speaks of material tolerances, of resonant frequencies, of fluid dynamics. He does not use complicated language. He uses simple, powerful analogies. He makes her understand the soul of the machine. She listens. She takes notes. She records his words. She sees the depth of Marcus's fraud. It was not just theft. It was a fundamental betrayal of craftsmanship. He had replaced hardened steel with cheaper alloys. He had simplified complex cooling channels to reduce machine time. Each change a small compromise. Together, a cascade of guaranteed failure. He was not just stealing a design. He was gutting it. He built a bomb, Elias says quietly, looking at a schematic for the fuel injector, and sold it as an engine. Clara feels a chill. The investors on the sea serpent. The storm. It could have been so much worse. She prepares her presentation. It is not a corporate slideshow. It is a story. A story of two designs. One, a testament to integrity. The other, a monument to greed. Elias watches her. He sees the woman she was meant to be. Her father's daughter. Sharp, intelligent, and, finally, wise. On the morning of the board meeting, he is there. He is not in his work clothes. He wears a simple dark sweater and clean trousers. But he does not look comfortable. He looks like a wolf forced into a cage. He follows her into the elevator, up to the top floor. The world he left behind. The boardroom is silent and cold. The long, polished table reflects the grim faces of the board members. Marcus is at the far end, looking confident, smiling his empty smile. He thinks this meeting is about damage control for the sea serpent incident. He does not see the storm that is about to break. Clara takes her place at the head of the table. Elias does not sit. He stands against the back wall, near the door, his arms crossed. A silent guardian. She begins. She does not raise her voice. She does not make accusations. She simply tells the truth. She lays out the two sets of schematics. The originals, signed by her father and Elias. The fraudulent copies, signed by her father and Marcus. She plays the recording of Elias explaining, in his calm, steady voice, the technical implications of every single change Marcus made. She presents metallurgical reports on the failed parts from the sea serpent. She presents the financials, showing the millions Marcus siphoned off by using substandard suppliers. It is a slow, methodical, and utterly brutal dismantling. Marcus's smile falters. The color drains from his face. He starts to bluster, to object. This is absurd. He's a disgruntled contractor. He's trying to poison you against me. Clara holds up a hand, silencing him. There is one final piece of evidence, she says, her voice like ice. A letter. From my father. She reads the letter aloud. The room is utterly still. The only sound is her clear, unwavering voice, reading her father's final words. His final judgment. Trust him. Trust his work. Do not trust the noise. When she is finished, a long silence hangs in the air. One of the older board members, a man who had known her father for 40 years, turns his gaze to the back of the room. "Mr. Thorne," he says, his voice heavy. "Is this all true?" Elias uncrosses his arms. He takes 2 steps forward, into the light. All eyes are on him. He looks at Marcus. He looks at Clara. "Yes," he says. Just one word. It is all that is needed. It carries the weight of years of silence, of integrity, of truth. It is enough. The vote is unanimous. Marcus Cole is terminated, effective immediately. A motion is passed to begin legal proceedings. Marcus is escorted from the room by security. He does not look at Clara. He does not look at Elias. He looks only at the floor. A defeated man. The meeting adjourns. The board members file out, stopping to shake Elias's hand, to offer quiet apologies. He accepts them with a simple nod. Soon, only he and Clara are left in the vast, silent room. The battle is over. They walk to the elevator together. They do not speak. The ride down is silent. The air is thick with unspoken things. In the cavernous marble lobby, they stop. The city bustles on the other side of the glass walls, oblivious. The board has offered you a position, Clara says, looking at her hands. Head of a new research and innovation division. The position my father originally wanted for you. Elias looks out at the city, the relentless traffic, the noise. My life is there, he says, nodding in the direction of the coast. My shop. My daughter. I know, she says quickly. The division would be based there. We'll build it around you. Around your workshop. We'll come to you. He turns to look at her. He sees the earnestness in her eyes. The plea. All right, he says. A slow smile spreads across her face. It is the first time he has seen her smile. It transforms her. Good, she says. That's good. An awkward silence falls between them again, the new beginning. He reaches into his pocket and pulls something out. It is a small wooden compass, no bigger than his thumb. The wood is dark and smooth, polished by the sea and his own hands. He places it in her palm. So you don't lose your way again, he says. Her fingers close around it. It is warm from his pocket. She nods, unable to speak. She reaches into her own pocket and pulls out a set of keys on a simple brass ring. They are old, worn. These were yours, she says. My father gave them to me. He said they were for the real head of the company. She places them in his hand. His keys. The keys to the workshops, the dry docks, the engine labs, the keys he had given back the day her father died. Their hands brush. A spark of warmth in the cold lobby. A beginning. 6 months pass. The seasons turn. The autumn chill gives way to the hard, bright light of winter. Vance Maritime thrives. The V12 engine is recalled, redesigned, and re-released. The Thorn Vance 12 Mark II. It is a masterpiece of engineering. It is reliable. It is true. A new building rises near Elias's workshop. Low slung, made of glass and cedar, it blends into the coastline. It is the new heart of the company, a place of quiet innovation. Elias runs it, but he runs it his way. There are no boardrooms. There are workbenches. Engineers wear boots, not suits. The air smells of coffee and hot metal. Clara is there most days. She has an office, but she rarely uses it. She is more often found in the workshop, watching, learning. She has discovered that she has her father's hands. She likes the feel of tools, the satisfaction of making something that works. She has a small house now, a few miles down the coast. She does not belong to the city anymore. One Saturday, the sun is brilliant on the water. A new boat is being christened. The first one powered by the new engine. It is not a flashy yacht. It is a search and rescue vessel for the local Coast Guard. A boat built to save lives. Elias and Clara stand on the deck. Between them stands Lily. She is wearing a captain's hat that is far too big for her. Her hand is on the throttle. Elias's hand is over hers. Clara's hand is over his. The engine hums, a low, perfect thrum of power and reliability. Lily pushes the throttle forward. The boat surges ahead, cutting a clean white wake in the deep blue water. She squeals with delight. Elias and Clara laugh, a shared easy sound. They are a strange and perfect trinity. The craftsman, the executive, the child. Later, As the winter sun begins to set, casting long golden fingers across the water, the boat is moored. Lily is asleep in the forward cabin, curled up under a thick wool blanket. Elias and Clara stand on the stern deck. They are not touching, but they stand close enough to feel the warmth of each other's presence. The air is cold and smells of salt and pine. They watch the last sliver of sun disappear below the horizon. The sky bleeds into a deep, velvety purple, pricked with the first stars. They do not speak. There is no need for words. Everything that needs to be said has been said. Everything that needs to be done has been done. He is the anchor. She is the sail. Together they have found their way home. The future is a vast open sea before them. It is uncharted. It is unknown. But for the first time in a very long time, for both of them, it is not frightening. It is filled with a quiet, steady, and unshakable hope. The engine ticks softly as it cools. The water laps gently against the hull. A quiet beginning.